Welcome back to another episode of Carman Conversations, and today we are treated with a very, very special guest and a big favourite of mine, Ben Mahoney. Welcome, Benny.
Thanks for having me.
So I've got a fair bit to get through with you today that I'm really excited about, and I've been looking forward to this podcast for a period of time. But I guess the big thing for us is, or for everyone, is that you've come on as an ambassador like I've got a multiple of, and it wasn't for anything in particular apart from the fact that we connected through social media. And there's a bit of a story behind that, but just for a bit of background for that. So I'm a big fan of Australian boxing, big fan of all fighting sports, and along this young gentleman came of Ben Mahoney, and I started following Ben and his story, and I got a bit intrigued just from, I guess, his day-to-day hustle of what he did and how he went about it. And there was one day, I think it was on one of your stories you put up, anyone know a car man or a car guy that can help me out? I'm in some trouble. And I reached out to you at that point and said, yeah, I'm your car guy, and the rest is history from there. After a few conversations and a bit of an understanding of what you were trying to achieve, we got you up to the dealership and you bought one of the second-hand cars. And when we first met, obviously the history, it's history from there. It's been obviously a really good mutual understanding of what we both wanted in our careers, one being automotive and one being in boxing. But yeah, from that point, I was really impressed with you, and I was still intrigued with the journey of where you're going. And from that point, we brought you on as a Grand Prix ambassador. You've been in the BT50. You've been repping that BT. And part of the Grand Prix community and the family, I guess, and I'm honoured to have you on board. So welcome to Carman Conversations, Ben. And I guess from me to you, talk me through, I guess, your way of the first meeting, how it meant, how it felt, and then where we are today, I guess, and then break that into your journey so far.
So that introduction was amazing.
Thank you, mate.
I don't know how to beat that.
I rehearsed that one.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, look, I honestly, from when we first met, from before we first met, when I first started my Thai boxing journey, I was the worst with cars. Horrible, as you know. I reckon I had like 6 cars over 6 years, and they were just like burnt into the ground. Never got them serviced. The most irresponsible person in the world.
They just weren't your thing, mate.
No, they weren't my thing. I was never a car guy until we met. But yeah, I moved out of home quite early, so I had a lot of random debts that I needed to pay off, and I just never got around to getting myself organised. And I had the Cherry J11 at the time. It's a cherry never dies. But broke down on every set of lights on the Gold Coast, as all my friends know. But yeah, I was just dying. I needed a new vehicle, and I kept putting out the feels, and I had a few people like Dane put me in contact with you as well. Yep. And I heard the name float around a few times, and when I put that post up and you contacted me, I was like, this is unreal, how good. So when we first come in, I bought, was it the Corolla?
Yeah, the Corolla, yep.
Which was an amazing car. I drove it like 6 times, but it was an amazing car. I loved it. And for me, like, always having a bomb for a car and being, I suppose, irresponsible with it, getting a vehicle was just another aspect in life. So whether it's getting on top of my bills, or whether it was, you know, getting a nice car or a respectable car, or it was just another thing ticked in the box I don't have to stress about in the back of my mind, and it haunted me for a long time. So after I had that first car, which you looked after me amazing with, I was super pumped, and even then I was like, this is it. I want to have this car for years. This is epic. I was so chuffed with that. And then we come in for a service, and then I was talking about really wanting a BT down the track.
That's how it happened.
Yeah, and then we're sitting down, and Lukey says to me, he goes, we got some BTs here, and then I think you said, how would you feel about driving one out today? And I was just like, what? Okay. And then we went to the back, and you come back out, and you're like, let's get this going, kind of thing. And then that day I took the BT50 home as a BT50 ambassador for you, and it was crazy. It was for me, it was a mind-boggling moment, you know what I mean? Like, whether it's, you know, in big fights, walking down the runway, you got these dreams that you have. Having like that car was just like all time for me, and it was a bit of a surreal moment. And just, for some people, it wouldn't seem like a big deal, but for me, it meant the world.
I think at that point, I was obviously very entrenched into career and see where you're going, and I could see you're on this journey that I wanted to be part of. And you had the initial transaction with the Corolla, and then I thought the BT is a great thing, and I think at the time I might have said, look, let's 6 months, let's have a look at Christmas time and
Yes.
see where we're at. And, we'll just see how the relationship is. And obviously, it went really well because I was already on this journey with you, and I could see the network you have in the community. But a little story, the Ben Mahoney, the glamour boy of the Gold Coast, with a really good following, a good story to tell. And then you were fighting later on that year, and it was I think it was later, like October or November.
Yep.
And you won that fight, and it was a very, very impressive display. And we passed each other in the crowd, and I gave you a bit of a hug and said, "Congratulations, mate! Like, what an effort." I think you've just deserved to hold that BT 50 for a lot longer.
Yeah.
And I remember the smile on your face, and I don't know, you were pretty excited about the fight. You were bloody excited about that BT 50 too. And I knew then that was a relationship that was going a long way. So, yeah, to me, I knew the timing was right. You at the time, I guess, you've spent that first 6 months in the car. Like you said, it was great, and what that meant is a privilege to have the car. But where to from there? Where was the next part of the journey?
As far as the car and the relationship we built, whether it was building the friendship and we were going away to the Moreton Island and all the shoots, the cars kind of from that point became a secondary thing. Obviously, we're great friends, and I think just the relationship that we built along that process was, for me, dealing with car dealerships, dealing with my past cars, worst experiences ever. So I suppose the process we had, it was me getting people on board as well. So I spoke to a lot of my friends, a lot of my family, and I brought a lot of people through. Like even Emily, she goes, that was the smoothest process. Yep. Emily, my partner. Yep. She's like, that was the smoothest process ever. And, I've had a lot of people come through and they've all come back and said the same thing, how smooth and how easy the transaction was, kind of thing. But, the process has been amazing. And from there, I've always wanted a BT50 of my own. And for me, it was a life box tick to even drive it and to be, to be with you. But then we had the discussion of, I think I want to buy a BT50, and I think that was, I suppose, the next step, because down the track, however long that may be, eventually I'll have to return the car, and then I have to drive my Corolla. Where there's nothing wrong with the Corolla, but I didn't want to go back from that.
You couldn't. It's
to
hard
that.
to, mate.
No way. So, oh man,
and then here we are today, the car man helping out.
Yeah.
So let's go back a step and just talk a bit about Ben Mahoney. So talk us through, you're obviously going extremely well in Australian boxing now, and the world's at your feet, but take us through the journey. When did you start? How did it start? It wasn't always boxing to start, and where you are today.
So it's been a long ride. I've been training for 13, 14 years, competing. I started originally in Muay Thai, so I had 40 professional Thai fights over the years. I was 3-time Australian champion in 2 different divisions. I fought overseas, I fought in the top 5 in the world. Got to quite a high level, and when originally my goal was to be a kickboxing world champion, I wanted to go to Glory and go on all these big promotions and do it that way. But throughout the years, it's not all about the money, but at the end of the day, what you want to do as a job, you want to be like what you love, you want to be able to do that for income for the rest of your life. That's when they say, when you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So that's what I wanted to achieve. And then when I fought, I think my last fight I fought in China, I fought a guy called Yodkanpun. He was number 3 in the world. I took it on like 6 days notice. Got an express visa. We went to China. We got bashed. Got my nose smashed, like my septum deviated and all whatnot. You can flick it and it bleeds now. And we got paid $3,000 for that. And that was like top 5 in the world in another country. And for me, it was kind of like a bit of a wake-up call. It's like, I need to change what I'm doing to get to where I need to go. I've worked so hard to get to that point. And so we started taking like short notice. A few fights before that, I took probably 3 or 4 short notice boxing fights. I think I was just picked because he's like, he's a tough Thai boxer. Yep. He'll be good to get in and throw a punch, but we'll stop him, kind of thing. And I ended up knocking out my first 3, 4, 5 kind of fights, and I wasn't supposed to win any of those fights. And I think that's why I jumped up the rankings so quick, because I was just going, whatever. I was going in just throwing big bombs and just catching people because I got a bit of mongrel in me. And then from there, after that Thai fight, I kind of went, I think I can do this. I had a lot of boxers coming to the gym at the time, and I was sparring them, and I didn't feel that far off them when I was doing Thai boxing. And back then my hands weren't good, but I was getting through. And And so, yeah, we thought, all right, well, let's give this a spin. And I made the jump because me and Josh, my coach, we sat down and went, like, what's the game plan? Like, what do we want to achieve? I don't want to get stuck in this loop and do the same thing. Yep. And I don't want to work or fight until I'm 30, retire, go get a trade, work until retirement age. And then, like, my whole dream's gone if I keep doing what I'm doing. I know it. So we decided to go to boxing. We took it very seriously. And then that was in end of 2017, I had that first fight where I was like, this is what we're doing. And I've been boxing now for not even 4 years, full time.
Yep.
So we're 12-0 now, former Oz champ, former regional champion, and we're sitting at number 2 in Oz under Tim, and we are, I think, 40 in the world as of today. So
amazing.
Yeah,
it's been a pretty good story, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been good so far. So far, so good. So the process is just now getting out of Australia, getting to that world scene. I feel like when we stay in a certain position for too long, you kind of just go in a loop, and one day your day's up. So I don't want to have an off night or get caught or fight someone I shouldn't be fighting under me, and then something happens and then I don't get there at the end of the day. I've got the ability and the opportunities, and I've got the beautiful people around me and support to go and do this. So I think the next stage is shoot for the world.
Sounds good. And what about the next 5 years? Is there plans there? Is there somewhere you want to see yourself in 5 years' time?
World champion is, and I know it's even from now it's far fetched, but from when I first started, if we knew each other back then, you'd just be like, I think I've always believed from day one I'm going to do it. When I come to boxing, I got told, you're a Thai fighter, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to change styles. You're not going to be able to do this, or you're not going to beat him. It's always been the same thing. Whether it's on trade sites, you're not going to be able to do it, get a job, or I've got to where I am now, and I've never been more confident that I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I've sparred world champions, I've held my own with them, and more. I've done 12-0, coming off literally my first 6 fights. I was saying before, I reckon I had 2 weeks training for my first 6 boxing fights.
Right.
In total, So I feel like 4 years into the sport, I'm where I am. Give me another 4 or 5, and I'll have a world title around my waist for sure.
It's impressive. The one thing that stands out to me is your mindset. You're very, very passionate. You're very driven and motivated. But you can see it in conversation, whether it be in a social scene or whether it be in this environment or whether you're talking in Fightland. And that's the thing that probably attracts me to Ben Mahoney the most and follow that journey, is that you're very genuine, you're very driven, very motivated and regimented in what you do, but you've got this aura of this story going along with you. And I don't know, I just get excited when we hear about this in World Champion. I feel like I'm on the ride with you, but the kind of hair stand up in the back of the neck moment, of the inspiration. So to put that out, that's obviously got to come within. And I'll just touch a little bit on your social media, and obviously in today's boxing, there's not a lot of income when it comes from Australian boxing and fights, and they can be few and far between, and you've got to generate some income, you've got to generate the story, but you've got to be a showman at the same time. And that's how, obviously, like we said before, how we first met. But your social media, you're obviously very, very good at it. You've got a fantastic exposure, but the thing that I like is how genuine you are, and you're telling the story about where you started, where you want to be, and it's the same routine every day, and you can't help but not watch it. How much of that to you is it a plan that you want to think, okay, well, I need to promote myself this way? Has it become a custom? Has it just become second nature to you? Tell us about your social media and your following, and I guess what's the storyline? What are we trying to achieve?
For me, again, it's organic. Like, when I first started, it was Instagram, Facebook. Like, I grew up in the era where it first started. Kids of this generation, they're born into TikTok and all that. They're wizards by the time they're bloody 10. So when we first, it was just a slow burn. But for me now, it's not so much about anything special. It's just the daily routine. And it's 2022. Social media is everything. Whether it's high level boxing with the Paul brothers kind of thing, whether it's trends or whatever it may be, everything's through that. And I think that you got a big reach, and a lot of people use it for the wrong reasons. People look at social media in the wrong way, where they look at it and whether it's they judge other people, or then they compare themselves and then they let it make them upset or depressed. I think it can be used as a different perspective. You look at someone above you or doing something amazing or fit, use that as inspiration, use that as a template. You can use the same, I suppose, blueprint for positive, not negative. And I think that's completely a perspective thing. For me, building that, again, it's as a athlete or as a boxer, it's you're not just a person, you're a brand. And that's what you have to build. And I think you need to, again, like you said, the boxing industry, it's not big money, and it's more than Muay Thai was, and it's still still not much. So that's saying something. But to have the social presence that allows sponsors to come on board. Without you and me, we wouldn't have met unless it was through social platform, you know, and you can build great relationships, great friendships, sponsorship opportunities, anything through that. And I think that that's important. I honestly wouldn't be anywhere near where I am or where I'm going without all my sponsors, all my friends, all my supporters, you know, whether it be per fight, whether it be a car that gets me to training every day. Like, this is so imperative to have a successful career. And a lot of guys, I suppose, not being negative towards that, but a lot of people just kind of fight or do their sport and it's a given. I deserve this. It's like, well, what do you give back to the people? And if someone's looking after you or an ambassador or a sponsor, what can you give them in return? It's a two-way street. And I think
you're bang on there. And I think this is the big thing, a big part of our relationship. If someone had said to me 5 years ago, Luke, you need to be on social media and you need to be promoting your business through social media and be networking with your ambassadors, whatever it might be, I would have said, you're kidding yourself, right? I actually did. This is a true story. And I got pushed by the amazing team at Collaborative Media Group, and they said, you need to get out of your comfort zone. You need to do this. You need to be promoting a platform for you in the business, and people want to see who you are. And so I was an amateur, obviously, at it. But soon enough, I realised how big and powerful that world is. What I then realised is that, you know, when I grew up in the different area where you didn't have it at your fingertips, you know, and you followed your sports, and to get that information on your sports people, you had to read it in the paper or search them, you know, through Google. Whereas now you're getting to see press conferences, people training, prepping for fighting, like what you're doing, you know, your training routine, how you prep, walking up to the weight cart and everything else. Like, we get to see this sort of stuff live, which is such a privilege. But the part, I guess, when we've partnered, and as with other people, is we become family, we become a community, and the big thing about it is that support, it goes so far, and our network has obviously collided in a great fashion, because I've always been a big believer, like attracts like, which it has, but the people following you and the people on your vision are the same that I've got, you know, and hence why the business has worked really well together. But again, that's a social media thing, and we've watched it live, and it's been fantastic. And I'm honoured, A, that I get to spend the amount of time that I do with you, B, that I get to come on your journey with you where I feel I'm there, and then watching your community and supporting the way they are and how tight it is, and who I've met through that has been a privilege. And to see it, that's the sort of stuff I love, when it be from business or personal. That's the inspirational and motivational thing. So from that, I guess the one big thing for you is your positivity. There's never anything negative that comes out of your mouth, and if there is anything in a negative conversation, you'll find the positive from it. Talk to me about your mindset. Obviously, you're very driven and motivated, and you've got some really good positive energy. Is that a thing you've had to work hard on, or is it something that's always been natural?
Definitely work on. It's callousing the soul, I always say. Mate, like, everyone goes through their dramas. I'm not saying it's less or worse or whatever, but I had some moments when I was younger with childhood stuff that I had to kind of callous myself and cut myself off from. Again, I don't really speak about a lot on camera or anything like that. I probably never will, because your past isn't what defines you, it's your future, and I think it's what you do in the moment now forward that matters the most. So I think growing up, I had a choice to either kind of succumb to all the issues that were going on, or it was to overcome it and to make a better life for myself. And that's originally why I started training. I wanted to, my old man got me into Taekwondo when I was very young. And then I kind of got into Muay Thai just to stay fit. And then I just had my first fight. Wayne Parr, I was training with at the time, offered me a fight, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And from there it kind of rolled. But every single day at 4 o'clock, I was at the gym. I was training, I was releasing stress, I was getting better, I was making myself a better person. And then when I got to the point, I think I went professional Muay Thai at 16 years old, I got my first pay. And it wasn't much, but like I said, back then I had a lot of debt. I was blacklisted by my banks. I was in a lot of trouble. I had a terrible car. Was in a really bad space. I was couch surfing a lot of the time. I moved out of home around 16 as well. So there was a lot of moving parts to it. But I think for myself, again, it was, I need to make a better life for myself, and this is how I'm going to do it. I didn't know anything else. I could fight naturally. I think so growing up kind of thing, I just kind of knew with my old man. that's just what I did, and that's what he did as well. My brother was like a rough nut as well. So I think moving forward, I was like, if I fight, I'll make money. Then I'll get better. Then I'll fight. Then I'll make some more money. Then I'll fight. Then I'll win a belt. Then I'll do this. And then one day I'll be a world champion. I'll be a millionaire. That's it. And it was that simple when I was a kid, you know. And then obviously, as you get into the sport, you realise how hard of a slug it is. And I think, you know, looking up to guys like, whether it was big boxing, Muay Thai, MMA, I was looking up to the McGregors back then. I was looking up to the Anthony Joshuas. You know, these days you got so many guys at the top that are good on socials, good relationships, good with sponsors, and all you want is just some support and some love, and it's just enough to carry you through. And I think, you know, when I was struggling, I had a lot of people along the road that came to help. I'm talking early days too, 15, 16 years old, that came to support me when no one else would. And that bit of love, kindness, support is what made me go, I need to do this to others and give that back. And so I think even when I was going through the pits, if I could be kind to someone else, I could bring them along with. And I think that's, I suppose, where the social media's come from, is if you can present a positive message and, you know, there's no, I suppose, negatives. Always see the positive, the silver lining kind of thing. That's just kind of where it came from.
Well, it's definitely not just through socials. It's you as a person. It's you through message. You bring a smile to my face most messages because of the energy and warmth that comes. But you, I think, in your day-to-day, it and I relate this back to my staff all the time, just that positive energy, good vibes, you know, and that good energy that comes out. It's hard, even if you're down and out, but when you're around that, it's infectious, isn't it? You know, and I think that's been a really good thing for you and for your fighting, but just that aura that you put around you has attracted those like-minded people, you know. So I guess the routine, just jump back to that. You got the 4 o'clock starts every day. Just talk us through the bit of the normal routine. I know you're the same breakfast every morning. You know, you have your 32,000 coffees a day and all the rest of it. What is it? You wake up in the morning. Are you prepped from the night before? What you doing? You've got your diary sorted. Talk me through it.
Depends on the day. Totally depends on the day I had. But usually I'm pretty scheduled. So I go like an app for all my clients and all bookings. So my week's already pre-booked out prior. I spent years writing in a notepad, and it looked like The Exorcist had drawn in it. So I was like, I need to stop this. So I got a mate to help me out with an app. So I've jumped on that. My schedule training wise is all booked out. I've got my S&C, Monday, Thursday. I got my boxing every night. I got my sparring on when I'm in camp. You know, the Wednesday, the Fridays. I book all my sessions out. I book all my clients out. I have everything to a T. So I wake up, I look at this app, and I go, "This is what I'm doing today." As far as that go, I'm a creature of habit, massively. I think it's important to have that structure.
I think so.
One day gets away from you, and then leads into another day, and then you start to go, I've got to catch up on this, and it gets to Friday, you're snowballed. Then you're working over the weekend, and I've spent too many years in a messy rut kind of thing. So but very religious. So I train twice a day. I do probably 2 or 3 hours of clients a day as well. So throughout the whole week, I'm probably doing about 20 hours of clients, 20 to 30 hours of training, and then all my partner time, and then downtime, recovery, all that kind of stuff. So it's quite
it's regimented, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's got to be that way. Obviously, you're an athlete that needs to look after your body.
Yep.
To look after your body, you need to look after your mind. There needs to be some really good balance, and I think you display that. Now, speaking of your body, this is the first time in a while I've seen your shirt on.
Do you want me to take it off?
You have got the best abs in the world.
I wouldn't say that.
What's the line you always say to me? You don't buy a Ferrari to leave it in the garage?
That's right.
Can we just change that to you don't buy a Mazda?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you don't buy a Mazda to keep in the garage. We'll roll with that. I like it.
No, so Benny, I guess that for me, the relationship is so important and so inspiring. And just what we've talked about today, I don't know, I've got a grin from ear to ear because I enjoy talking about this stuff. I love the similarities between yourself and me, and you don't know that we're going to have these. This comes down to a day-to-day routine of scheduled, of having the same thing, of being ready, being prepared, how I prepare for a meeting in the morning, get myself up. I want to be the biggest motivator in the dealership each day when I come in, and I want to have the most energy when I leave during that day and be an inspiration to people. But everything is about good energy and good vibes and positivity, and be surrounded by good people, and being a big believer that like attracts like, and good things come to good people. And I've always said, and I've probably messaged it to you 100 times as well, but for me, from a Grand Prix Master and Ben Mahoney relationship, I couldn't be more stoked. Stoked for what we've brought together as far as the community goes in your network. And that's just massive, you know. And I talk to these guys now, and they're part of my family, you know, and the Gold Coast crew. And I guess your journey, I couldn't be more proud of where you've come, you know, from and in the time that we've known each other. I've seen the growth from you personally and professionally, you know, and you've got a beautiful partner in Em, that the energy that you two have and the vision and the dream you're on. You do everything together when it comes to training and, you know, coming into fight camp, and she supports you. There's no more important thing to that, you know. You need to have everything in your corner going the right way, and I can see how hard you work from a personal level and a professional level to get yourself match fit and fight fit, but to have someone in your corner that believes in that vision and supports you 100%, there's no money that will buy that stuff, you know what I mean? So you're obviously blessed, and you've got some really good support. And the same thing with Josh, your coach too. You know, I was lucky enough to meet Josh in the early days when you first picked up the corolla, and I could see it there. You've definitely got all the right attributes to be a superstar, and I don't think that this world champion status will be far off, you know, because I've got great belief in who you are. And to me, again, I just wanted to thank you very much for being such a good ambassador for Master Aspley, but more so for me personally, just such a great friend, and the way we've met, and it's inspirational, you know, and to have someone along the lines that I can call a friend and go on this journey and watch has been great. And I suppose from an ambassador point of view too, you've been outstanding for us. You've been really, really good. So thank you, mate, for joining Carman Conversations. Thank you for being a very, very big part of who we are, and all the best on this massive journey that I'm your biggest supporter. I'm going to continue to watch, but no doubt that I'm going to be standing by your side when you are the king of the kids. So thank you very much, Benny.
100%.
Thanks for being a big part of what we do, mate.
I'm very grateful, and touching on that, man, I'm very grateful for what you've done for me as a friend, for being an ambassador for Mazda, for absolutely everything in between. It's genuinely been something that's helped me more than I could express, from getting to training, from the mental side of it especially. That's been a massive thing. It's been completely life-changing, so I'm very grateful for you and everything that you've done and everything that brings with it.
Excellent.
So,
my man.
Thanks
Thank you very
me.
much.
My man.
Thank you. Well, as you can see, very, very inspirational, and such a good guy, Ben Mahoney. He's a big favourite of mine, and if you haven't picked up from that, and if you've listened to this, try watching it, because he's a good-looking man. But honestly, the demeanour you can speak, I was blessed there with the eye contact, and you can just see how deep and genuine that is. In all seriousness, the drive and motivation is something else. So if you're not already and you want to continue to follow this journey, jump on the links in the description below and follow this superstar in action.